All right, welcome back, everybody. We are going to get into this next lesson, which is going to be on the R&O information resources. When we did that poll earlier today, that was one of the top items that you guys wanted out of this course. So pay attention to this particular lesson. We can't go into depth about every single information resource out there, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we're going through this. But the big thing here is to know where to look for that information. Put them on your favorites list so that you can look for them later. You can look through them, browse for the information. We and COM, we oversee that BPL, and not every one of us knows every single BPL page out there. There's just way too much information to know to have that memorized. So as we're going through this, again, just make sure you guys are just big on favoriting that on your browser of choice. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we are over in AFCEC COM. Then we're going to talk about some publications that are good tools and good informational resources. We'll look at some web portals, and then we'll look at some other formal education and some not formal education as well. So who are we at AFCEC COM? We are part of the Operations Directorate, and part of that we fall under the Operations Maintenance Branch. There's two places for the Air Force Civil Engineer Center. Our main headquarters is over in Joint Base San Antonio. That's where you're going to have your Facilities Directorate, your Environmental Directorate, and then you also have over at Tyndall, you have your Operations Directorate, your Energy Directorate, and your Readiness Directorate. So if you've been to the Tyndall Silver Flag site, you kind of pass our building as you're going down the highway to Silver Flag. So if you ever get a chance to, and you look over on the right-hand side as you're heading towards Silver Flag, you'll see our building as you're driving past it. So this is what we do over in AFCEC COM. So we have the SME guidance. Mr. Brian Muller, he is our SME for the Operations Maintenance Branch. And then we also have a bunch of subject matter experts and subject knowledge experts in our different areas. So we have somebody that's well-versed in operations engineering, requirements and optimization. Mr. Ed Quinn is work management. Mr. Jason Schmitz is preventive maintenance. Mr. Terry Day is material control. Mr. Casey is service contracts. Jan Collins for cost accounting. And then we also have Benny, which is our vehicle management person. So we'll have all the names up here on the next slide, so you can take a look at those if you're looking for anybody in particular. But just know that if you are in the operations flight, and especially operations engineering, AFCEC COM, they're going to be the ones that have your SMEs for you. We own the business processes for the operations flight. So what does that mean? It means that when there's a step-by-step saying, hey, this is what you should be doing from point A to point B, that is us that created that process. We are integrators for cross-functional operations. So when it comes to, for example, Builder and Paver, those all fall under the COA, the asset management flight over at Tyndall. So we are the ones that are coordinating with them to try to find out the right answers for you guys on these things. Next-gen IT data quality. So we are constantly running reports in next-gen. If you have one of our teams that are coming out to you to kind of give you a refresher on next-gen or show you some different ways of doing things in next-gen, that's largely because we looked at the data and we said, hey, there's some issues with data. Let's go ahead and try to resolve those issues through education. We have that data visualization tool developer. So Jason, he's going to talk to you a little bit about when he comes up here about his PM dashboard. But we also feed the data into that Tableau server that we talked about earlier and that you'll see later on. And we also have all sorts of other different dashboards and tools to help you out. Then last thing, we are next-gen IT operations modules. So whenever there's an update to next-gen that affects the operations process, that's because we're pushing it. We have a backlog of over 200 items, different change requests that are needed or wanted into next-gen. We're the ones that prioritize which ones are getting attacked and which ones are getting taken care of first. Up on the screen right now, you should see a bunch of different POCs and the different subject matter experts that we have on the different areas. You can download those slides on the site, on the AU portal, so I'm not going to go ahead and go through here and talk through each one. But if you need to get a hold of us for anything, you have our contact information up on the screen. So that delves into publication. So we talked about a little bit who our SMEs and our subject matter experts are, but you don't necessarily always need us. There's a lot of times that your questions can be resolved at your home station. So looking in your Air Force publications, so you have your USCs, your DUDIs, your DODDs, all those things give us the requirements that tells us what needs to be done. They often speak in general terms, right? So if you look at Air Force publication, 32-1001 maybe, it says you will have an effective facility management program. All right, well, what's going to actually determine what an effective facility management program is? That's when we get into the playbook side. So you'll see when we get into the playbooks give AFCEC guidance on how we're going to meet those requirements. The playbooks allow us to update things a lot quicker than if we were to go through the official Air Force publication process. If you've ever had to go through that, you'll know that it can take months, sometimes years to get an AFI published or even get an update to an AFI published. So having those playbooks allows us to have that information out there, allows us to give direct information to you all so that you can get that information a lot quicker. You don't have to wait the years or the months. Then lastly, we also have a business process library. This is where we kind of give some best practices. So we give tools on how you might be able to best identify or best use certain things. And again, it's a website. So all we have to do is click an edit button, type out new information, click save, and it's back out there for everybody else to see. So I know in the last lesson, we mentioned that the good idea fairies, by all means, shoot those good idea fairies to us if you don't see anything in there. We're always accepting of new ideas. A lot of the new ideas that we get came from the field to begin with. It could be somebody that we are familiar with, or somebody said, hey, this is something that we had, and we thought maybe the rest of the Air Force might enjoy it. So send that to us, let us see, and if it's something that we think that could be useful at other bases, and that it's not a time sink or something along those lines, then we'll go ahead and publish that out there so that the rest of the Air Force can see what those ideas are and get those ideas and work those into their processes. So here's some notable DoD and Air Force publications for the ops slate for R&O. 32-1001, Civil Engineer Operations, that's our bread and butter. That's exactly tells us exactly what we're supposed to do in the operations slate. You also have the Infrastructure Investment Strategy. I know Captain Palmer has that linked on our Canvas Blackboard. We also have DoD 7000.14, Department of Defense Financial Management Regulation. That's going to kind of go into your facility abuse type process or reports of survey. AFPD 32-10, Installations and Facilities. 32-9005, Real Property Accountability Reporting. You have your Doctrine 3-34, Engineer Operations. Then you have a couple of different executive orders that have come out. I know when we talked about the asset management lesson earlier today, there's a whole page of just lessons talking about asset management. I can't go into all those. There's just a lot of them out there, but feel free to take a look at those. Just doing a quick Google search or a search engine of your choice, you can come up with and find those. UFCs, has anybody ever, or who here has not heard of UFCs before? All right, the chat is empty, so I'm assuming everybody's heard of UFCs before, which is great. UFCs are going to give us direct guidance on how facilities should be covered. So you'll see they cover a wide spectrum of CE topics. The firefighters, or that's the fighters, right? No, it's to the Unified Facilities Criteria. I wish it was the fighters. That is obviously something, but unfortunately, we don't get to deal too much with the UFC. All right, so it covers a wide spectrum of CE topics. It can talk about HVAC. It can go into pest management. It can go into signs. There's a whole UFC out there about the Air Force and the DoD sign standard. Did you guys know that you're not supposed to just go out and figure out what kind of signs you want and create them and put out whatever font you want? There's an actual DoD standard for signs, and we'll actually look at that in the next slide here. So there's some examples on the screen right now based off of maybe what your job is and some UFCs that might be important to you. I can't list them all. There's a whole website out there, the whole building designguide.org. If you go in there, look under federal guidance, and then scroll down and find the UFCs, you'll see that there's probably about 50, 60, 70 UFCs out there. So if you are a sub-amp manager or an activity manager, take a look at those, find out some that are going to be important to you. That's going to help out with your design reviews as well. So this is an example of a UFC. This is that sign standard that I was talking about earlier, right? It goes very much into depth. It tells you exactly how big your sign is supposed to be. It tells you the color. It tells you the font. It tells you the size of the font. It tells you the size of the lettering, all that stuff, right? So just about signs alone, there's 68 pages in a UFC that's dedicated to telling you how your signs are supposed to be. Is the UFGS as important as the UFC? Yes, they're both important. Just kind of, it depends on the topic. All right, so some other notable playbooks. You have the R&O playbook. So you have the operations engineering playbook. You have the work management playbook, facility management playbook, preventative maintenance playbook, MDI refinement, sustainment management systems. There's a lot more playbooks out there as well that could also be important. So take a look at those playbooks. See if any of them may apply to your particular situation. If you have some extra time in your shop or in your office and you're just like, well, I don't have anything better to do, take a look at those playbooks. As mentioned earlier, they're always getting updated, right? So the preventative maintenance one, an update just got pushed for that one a couple months back. The facility management one, that got brand new in August. So again, brand new. Work management one, that should be updating here in the next few weeks, hopefully here shortly. Material control, I know obviously this is a requirements and optimization class, but material control, that's also a playbook that's going to be published here in the next 2 weeks or so. I would not download and save those for months. Again, the whole point of the playbook is that we can get those published, get changes put out there a lot quicker. So if you download them and you save them for years on end, you may be looking at outdated information at some point in time. We also have our BPL. So we talked about the BPL. It's a business process library. It serves as our one-stop knowledge repository. So back when I came in, I joined in 2004, back in the IWMS days. We didn't have much information out there, right? So when you PCS to a base or you got to a base and you're trying to learn IWMS or learn how that base did things in IWMS or even the best way to do things, you relied on making a phone call to somebody else and saying, hey, how did I take care of this? Or how do I take care of this situation? The BPL is put into place to kind of stop that. It's put into place to put all that good information in one spot. So all you have to do is click on the page, do a search function, and find out the information that you're looking for. And it's already been vetted. It's already been looked through. And we've been able to try to find the best process as to how to take care of whatever issue that you're looking at. So as of 14 October, we had 460 pages on our BPL. And each one of those pages is a different topic. Some of those pages have more than one topic on them, just depends on the topic that you're looking at. We also have a bunch of tools and best practices that are also on that BPL. So for example, if we have the facility management on the facility management page, I keep going back to that because that's my bread and butter as a facility management program manager. But we have a whole facility management database that just got published in August. It's no longer just a spreadsheet where you just type in everybody's information. Now you click, there's macros involved, and you push a button and it'll tell you saying, hey, these are facilities that you don't have facility managers for. It'll tell you these are the customers that have across the base that don't have their training done. So it'll break it down by unit saying, hey, maybe security forces is on there and maybe they only have 50% of their people trained. Well, that's now data that you can take to your commander and they can take to the security forces commander and say, hey, why aren't you guys taking care of your training? You guys are the worst in the entire base when it comes to your facility management training. They can work through that, right? It's hard for a commander to go and advocate on your behalf without that data, without that information to help them. So this is a copy of the BPL. This is one of our pages on the BPL. Again, it's facility management related. Sorry, that's my thing. I made the slides. But you can see all the different areas on the BPL. If you look at the top, you can see that little that bar over here. You can see all the different areas that are covered on that bar. All the different categories. Each one of those is a drop down, so you can click on that category, follow that link on the drop down, and find the information that you're looking for. So, for example, right now that bottom bar is all under the work management side. On the far side, you have your facility management. Then you have request management. So if you clicked on that request management, you drop down, it's going to show you about how to put in service requests. It's going to tell you your standard naming conventions. Going to tell you all sorts of information about how to submit a service request. Then you get into requirements preparation. So that's when we're going to be talking about your work request review board and your work request working group. It'll talk about all those processes. It'll talk about the best ways to do those. It will give you some templates and some ideas as to how to best accomplish that at your base. It'll also tell you how to take care of a WRB inside of NextGen. If you are unfamiliar, if you're still holding in-person meetings for your work request working group, or if you're holding in-person meetings for your coordination, excuse me, then it'll kind of tell you how you can do that to NextGen so that maybe you don't, that's one less meeting out of everybody's schedule. And your coordinating agencies just have to, click on this report once a week and say, hey, these are the ones that I haven't coordinated on. Let me go take care of those. So it's going to, again, give you a couple of those best processes. We're getting into work execution. Now we're talking about work scheduling. So it'll go into that a little bit. It'll tell you, hey, how do we schedule our work? It'll have some information out there for your shops. So for your shops, for example, it may show you how best to schedule your work for your shop. It'll tell you about the work task printout. It'll talk about the warranty program, things along those lines. The big important thing is that to know that each one of those pages has a lot of information, has tools, has links to other resources that are out there. If you have a page or if you're looking for information that's not on the BPL, let one of us know so we can research that and get that posted up on the BPL. Again, the entire goal of this is to make it a one-stop shop so we can just go in there, click that search button. If you notice right up on here, this is your search bar. If you click in there, you type in whatever keyword that you're looking for, it'll normally pop it up and find out for that particular term that you're looking for. We also have a couple of web portals that are out there. So we have the CE portal. Hopefully everybody has visited the CE portal before. We have CE-. We have the NextGen IT portal. We have the COM portal. We have the SMS portal, AFCEC portal, IMSC portal, a lot of different portals with a lot of different information out there. So the CE portal, again, this is going to be one that you're going to want to have favorited. It gives you enterprise-wide documents. It also is going to give you NextGen IT. Your NextGen IT help is all on the CE portal. It's kind of hard to see on the screen because it's a little bit small of a diagram, but there's a whole section over here for when it comes to NextGen IT. Click on that, and there's help videos. There's all sorts of step-by-steps out there. CE governance, fact sheets, CE playbooks. It's going to give you the link to the CE playbook. So I know we mentioned earlier that the operations engineering playbook link was broken. I know they're going to go work on that. But in the meantime, if you're still wanting to go look at that before that link gets fixed, go to the CE portal, look at the CE playbook links, and then you can find that operations engineering playbook on there. CE-. CE- is another great tool. It's built as a search feature. So you type in whatever issue that you're looking for, and it's going to find all the different pages that are dedicated toward that particular subject. Also on that CE- is what's called our CE Reachback Center, our RBC. The Reachback Center is a great tool for when you are looking if you're looking for something specific that you can't find anywhere else. What'll end up happening, that goes to a central office over at AFCEC. And then they will farm it off to the subject matter experts in that area. And we have a timeline at that point to provide you an answer. But if you don't know who you're looking for, maybe let's say that you have a builder question and you don't know who to talk to for that builder question. Put in a Reachback Center ticket, that question will get sent to the right person. Also on there is our OpsLite leadership distribution list. There's a link up on the screen, or if you download the slides, you can just do a direct link on there. But we definitely encourage everybody that's in the OpsLite, if you're in a leadership position, go in there and update your information. That's how we at AFCEC COM, that's how we update and make sure that information gets sent out to the right people. We all know how that telephone game goes when an email comes down, right? So it sometimes takes a while to get from higher headquarters down to MAGCOM, down to Numbered Air Force, down to the base. This is kind of a way to avoid some of that information and some of that information stoppage and leakage. Is we're able to send that email out directly to your R&O leads, or directly to your operations engineering lead, or your operations flight lead, whoever the case may be, whatever that information is for, we can send that directly out to them to help out. Web portal, we mentioned the COM program areas. So on each one of these areas, we have discussion boards, we have links, we have announcements, POCs, right? So if maybe you lose this slideshow at some point in time, and you're not sure who to talk to, if you go to that COM program area website, you can click on that and you can find out who the lead is for that area. Definitely encourage everybody to use those discussion boards. We try to get more people to use those discussion boards. Just because, again, when you are emailing directly, we email you back directly. Those questions don't necessarily get or are not available for everybody else, right? Because that email is a one-on-one communication. You post it up in that discussion board. If somebody else has that same question later on, all they have to do is just look at that discussion board and they can see the answer for them. So you can see the different areas, right? So we have work management, preventive maintenance, service contracts, requirements and optimization, and vehicle and snow control. Next Gen IT portal, as you mentioned, that's right off of that CE portal. So it has how-to guides for like what buttons to click to do what. It also gives you the release notes. It tells you if there's going to be a planned outage. We know that sometimes Next Gen has unplanned outages, but when we do have a planned outage, it's going to tell you what those planned outages are, right? So I mentioned earlier in one of the breakout groups that we have a Next Gen release that's supposed to be coming out this weekend. It has the release notes haven't been pushed out yet. But when those release notes get pushed out, it's going to be on there and you can read through those and find out some of the different things that we're fixing, some of the different things that we're changing with Next Gen. So in addition, right, there's other training that's out there as far as to learn your jobs in your duties in R&O. So we have AFIT. Obviously, you're taking an AFIT course right now, so you should be familiar with the website a little bit. But then there's also workshops, Air Force-wide workshops that are out there. There's courses out on My Learning that can help you out. And then there's going to be field-specific training that we'll talk about. So up on the screen right now is a collection of some of the different AFIT courses that may be valuable to you. Obviously, if to be able to get into this course, you've already taken the Asset Management or Introduction to Asset Management course. So we don't have that one listed on here since that was a prerequisite to join this course. But just know all these courses that are on here and then more are going to be useful for you. So if you're a 3E6 and you're like, man, I just don't feel like I know anything, start taking these AFIT courses. They're free to you. Take advantage of them. Whether it's your SMS Builder and Paver courses, Introduction to Project Management, which, by the way, is now a required course for upgrade training. So make sure if you haven't gotten that note, make sure you get that. Activity Management, Contracting for Civil Engineering, Project Management, Financial Management for CE Leaders, right? All these are good courses for you to attend if you have that ability to. Not all of them are going to be distance learning. Some of these are in-person courses. So you might be able to even get a TDY out to Ohio to take these courses once they reopen those courses up to students in person. Also, you have your different workshops that are out there. So the Requirements Development Workshop that normally gets pushed out in the February-March timeframe. That is not something that we own over at the Air Force Civil Engineer Center. That's something that HAF pushes out. But just know that, or keep an ear out for that. Normally that goes down to the base level. I know 2 years ago, the last time that I was able to go, because I was at a remote duty station last year, that they paid for 2 people from each base to go. One person from the engineering flight as your lead programmer, then they paid for somebody in your ops engineering flight. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, take a look at it when that email comes out. If you are a operations engineering lead, whether it's an OIC or a civilian or NCOIC, whatever the case might be, look through your emails and try to find out when that comes out. A lot of times that'll come out right around this time to be able to get signed up for it. I haven't seen it yet, but just keep an eye out for that. It's a good course. Somebody open their mic. Did you guys have something that you wanted to add in? Sorry, I like to talk a lot. Okay, we'll keep pressing. All right, you also have the Operations Flight Workshop. That is hosted by us over in COM. This last year, we did it virtually just because of our COVID restrictions. But just know that that happened in the March-April timeframe. So we held 2 lessons each day. And it was spread throughout the entire month of March. We also have topic-based courses throughout the year. So I know, for example, Mr. Quinn, he posts comments or he posts different CBTs and lessons that he does. I think he has one coming up in December as well. And it's going to be, for his area, it's going to be work management related. So take a look at those, keep you posted on that. Again, if you're on those COM pages, it'll be posted on there. It'll also be sent out from those ops distribution lists as well. And then we also have a business process training team. We kind of mentioned that a little bit. Originally, that business process training team was there whenever a new base came online with NextGen. They followed about a month behind or so and taught you about, all right, well, now that you have NextGen, now that you've set up NextGen, here's how to actually use NextGen. So with most of our bases now on NextGen IT, we are at like 86% of our active duty bases that are on NextGen IT. They are starting to switch to that role of sustainment. So that's when we're looking at those bases that may have some data issues and say, hey, this base has some data issues. How can we go out there and educate them and fix it? So if you are having at a base that may have some data issues, get hold of us and we can try to see what we can do, see what kind of schedule, how we can fit it into their schedule to get somebody out there to teach that. When it comes to the My Learning website, right? So you had the facility management CBT that's out there. Hopefully everybody has taken that. It's not mandatory for facility managers to take as far as the Air Force level is concerned, but we do highly recommend that course. It kind of gives them, hey, this is what your duties are. And then it also gives them a little bit of the how-to for NextGen IT, so they know how to submit service requests online. And then we also have our preventative maintenance. There's a CBT on there for preventative maintenance. So if you're a sub-amp activity or a sub-amp manager, that might be a good course, or even a technician, that'd be a good course for you to attend. Then there's a whole thing out there for financial management. It's the financial management body of information. It's meant for your finance folks, but there's a lot of good information out there that can help out with CE as well. Additional formal education, right? So this is going to be dependent on what your career field is and what you are expected to know for your career field. But there's things like corrosion control. There's courses out there for dam safety and inspections, bridge safety and inspections. There's AFS specific training out there. You have the FedSat, which is the Federal Skills Assessment Tool for facilities maintenance. You can take that course out there, kind of see where you're at as far as maintaining facilities are concerned. There's other professional engineer organizations that are out there. You have the International Facility Management Association, IFMA. They have courses that can help you with your facility maintenance program. Then you also have SAME, right? Society of American Military Engineers. They host courses right now. I think during this week, they're doing a small business conference. Then they also hosted a facilities management workshop back in, I want to say July, August timeframe. And the whole point is that all these different professional organizations also have ways and tools and classes and courses to help you better accomplish the activity management, asset management, how to best maintain our facilities. So in summary, we talked about some of the different publications that are important for R&O. We talked about some of the web portals that are out there. Again, if you know those web portals, put those in your favorites list. And that's going to help you find all that information out later on as you're going through. And, we talked about some of the funny work tasks that came into R&O. And that's just, scraping the iceberg on that. There's all sorts of different requirements that are coming out there all the time. When it comes to publications and all that stuff, we can only know what publications are important to us in R&O. When somebody submits a requirement to us, it's going to be up to them to let them know if there is an AFI driven requirement, they have to let us know what AFI is driving that requirement. But again, use those web portals, favorite those, and try to find the information that way as best as you can. We talked about a little bit about some other formal education or other training opportunities that are available to you. And then we also talked about AFCEC COM, who we are. So I think that is my last slide. I'll open it up in case anybody has any questions. Feel free to throw them in the chat or talk about them. Open up your mic and throw them out here. All right, I do not hear anything or see anything. So we'll go ahead and put you guys on a 5-minute break, and we'll let you back out here, and Captain DePalmer will hit you up with the next lesson.